Thank you for listening to Mormon Sex Info. This episode is an archived episode and is only now becoming publicly available. Mormon Sex Info relies on contributions. To contribute, please visit mormonsex.info. And now, please enjoy this episode.
Hello and welcome to Mormon Sex Info. This is Natasha Helfer Parker, and today I'm so pleased to have Chuck and Joanna Bird with me. The way that I met them was at an ASEC conference as they were giving a really wonderful presentation on called Sexual Health and Wellness Benefits of Sex Toys and AIDS. And they just did a phenomenal job. It was so informative, and I just knew I wanted to get them on the show if at all possible. So I'm super pleased they're here with me today. And with no further ado, I'll have them both introduce themselves. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Natasha.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for having us. And, this topic is something we're so passionate about, that's for sure. But we are both licensed mental health counselors, board-certified clinical sexologists, relationship and intimacy experts, and we have become known as the Lovebirds due to our last name in the work that we do.
Right. That's actually kind of fun. And for a long time, were you vendors of certain sex toys, of certain brands, or can you give us a little bit of your history in that regard?
We started out just because we were interested in sex toys in general. So we started out with a manufacturing company called Cal Exotics, which used to be called California Exotics Novelties, based out in California. They're an international company, thousands and thousands and thousands of sex toys and product lines. But anyway, we started out just wanting to do reviews because we were very interested in the quality that our clients would get quality toys and really learn how to use them. So we started doing reviews for them. And then about a year or so later, we ended up becoming paid consultants for them. And we became Cal Exotics Sexperts with them, where we actually go to different conferences, ASEC conferences, educating about the sexual health and wellness benefits of sex toys and AIDS on their behalf, and writing articles, etc. So it became a really great platform, a mutually benefiting platform for both of us.
And you no longer do that at this point, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Well, so let's get started with maybe just a little bit of explanation about sex toys. I think sometimes just at the very beginning, a lot of people find it kind of a giggly type of topic, like, oh my goodness, it's kind of funny, or why would people do that, or maybe even see it as a fringe type of exercise. I just know in working with my population that a lot of people still feel like that's kind of a weird thing to go get a sex toy. Although it's actually very common, and there's plenty in my population as well that have sex toys. So can you speak just to a little bit of maybe the cultural attitudes around sex toys and the myths around them and why people seek them out to begin with?
Well, I think you're right. We see the same thing. In fact, sometimes we even keep some of the sexual health and wellness products in our office. So it's amazing. At first, people will come in and go, "Oh no, we're definitely not here to. We don't have an issue with that. We don't want to necessarily talk about sex toys or want sex toys." But then after a while, just having them in our office, we don't push one way or another, but just having them in our office almost becomes permission giving. So they start asking questions, and I think you're right. We see the same thing where people are not against sex toys, but a little bit hesitant, skeptical, not sure why would we even need them.
Well, yeah, like you were kind of saying, Natasha, they laugh about it like it's just a sex toy there.
It's a novelty item.
It's a novelty. It's not really meant for
anything beyond that. And if we have a great relationship, why would we need something like that is another type of attitude we see. But really, one of the things that we always explain is that it's not just for pleasure. They can help increase lots of different things, desire, frequency for orgasms. It helps people get to know their bodies more. And we can actually use many of them to treat as an adjunct for sexual problems and dysfunction. So once we start explaining that, they're like, oh, that kind of makes sense. And gives them a little bit more permission again to ask questions about it.
Yeah, I would say probably the biggest two myths that I hear, one is, will it replace me? For example, especially I think coming from the man, if there's a dildo or a vibrator of some sort for the female, will it replace me? So some type of threat.
Of course, we explained that's not the case. In fact, the partner is often the one that's yielding it.
Right. Yeah. What happens for men, what I try to explain to them is, this is just adding a spice to your spice rack. That you're bringing into it's not going to ever replace you. It can't ever replace the connection you have with your partner. It can be fun for the man to be able to use it on the partner to give the partner pleasure.
Right, right. So the second myth I hear a lot is, well, if I start using a sex toy, I'll get used to that and it'll desensitize me to my partner so that I will only be able to have an orgasm with my sex toy and not with my partner.
Right, and we hear that as well, and that's obviously not the case either. Now, with anything, even with masturbatory styles, you can get used to it. It almost becomes, you almost know exactly how to please yourself, the combination, and you can get used to it just like with a sex toy, but you never get addicted to a sex toy. You just have to change it up occasionally.
Right, change the sensations, and sometimes you have to retrain yourself when you've gotten used to one way of having an orgasm, either with sex toy or masturbatory type actions.
Right.
Okay. Well, and I think that's true even of coupled sexuality, right? If you only have sex in a certain type of way and you only get used to having orgasms in a certain type of way, then more than likely you're used to that, right?
Exactly. And you couldn't then say that you're addicted to your partner in that way. So again, it's just becoming used to it.
Okay, so do you want to share with us any statistics as far as how common it is for people to be using sex toys and what we know about that in particular?
Sure. Let us go over some of the statistics that we've gathered. 44% of women ages 18 to 60 have used a sexual device, and 52.5% have used a vibrator.
86% of lesbians have used a vibrator. 44.8% of men aged 18 to 60 have used a vibrator at some point in their life.
They're not just for women. Men have used them as well. In fact, even gay and bisexual men have used it. 78% of them have used at least one type of sex toy in their life. So it's quite common.
Yeah, I think that a lot of times, as usual, we think we're the only weird ones, right? Or we're the only ones doing something different, when in reality, this is actually very common.
And I think it's even becoming more and more, because if you even Google, there's a vast array of them out there. So they're becoming more mainstream. You even see sex toys now in CVS, Walgreens, right there on the aisle. It's becoming more common.
All right, so why don't we get to, I know there's a vast variety of sex toys out there, but there's a few that we want to cover today. And why don't we start with the very common toy called the vibrator?
Yes.
If you could maybe describe it and then talk about not only the pleasure aspects of it, but to your point, maybe what are some of the benefits for using it for health reasons and actual even sexual dysfunction reasons?
Sure. Now, there are many different types of vibrators, okay? Vibrators basically are sex toys that vibrate and are used for sexual stimulation. So there can be some that are just meant for clitoral stimulation, where it's just external pleasure only. There are some that are more like dildo style vibrators that are you can use for external, but also for internal stimulation. You can actually insert them in the vagina. And then there's also dual stimulators, which again are meant for both internal and external stimulation at the same time. So they're getting that vaginal stimulation as well as clitoral stimulation. So there's many different types of vibrators on the market. We just went over the three most common. Like I said, there are many other styles.
And in many different sizes.
Oh, you have no idea. It's amazing how many there are. And there are many, many benefits.
What the vibrators can do that benefit you, they can help increase sexual desire. They create novelty and newness in your relationship.
Yep.
They increase arousal as well as decrease pain during and after.
Yeah, and the reason why the decreasing of pain is because you're allowing, by getting more aroused, it's actually facilitating more vaginal lubrication. And we know if there's more vaginal lubrication, there's going to be a decrease in pain during intercourse.
You can also use them to teach orgasmic skills,
Yeah.
directed masturbation, but it also, that in turn helps your clients learn about sexual response.
Yeah, they get to learn about their body more. Not just using a finger or tongue or anything else. They're like, wow, I can find out what type of stimulation I like. They can explore that.
All right. So, and again, this is something that people can use on their own. It's something that they can use with a partner.
Right. And there's even more. I mean, there are some people that are disabled where using a vibrator can actually help enable sexual activity for them. There's just so many different things it can do.
Can you say anything about possibly helping with genital pain? Is that something that can help as well?
Absolutely, because what it can do is it helps off, like I said, that vaginal dryness, and it also helps with muscle tone in the pelvic area, which can also help. And what we've seen, just overall benefits with men and women, and these are based on studies that were done as well, female users have a more friendly relationship with their own body, so they're more comfortable with their body, they have a better connection with their body, and with their gynecologist, and experience a more satisfying sex life. So that's just women. Men who use vibrators are more likely to participate in sexual healthcare seeking behavior, such as more testicular self-exams, and report fewer problems with sexual functioning.
And I think, a lot of people might visualize a woman using a vibrator, up against her clitoris, or like you're saying, there's a dual function so that there's a part of the instrument that's being inserted into the vagina. Can you describe how and why this would be something that could be used, against the penis? Because I'm not sure that would be as common thought for people, that men would be using vibrators.
You can use vibrators on any part of the body. I mean, you can use them for your shoulders, your back, your head, everything else, but you can also use it for this. And you can put it there, but in addition to having like the dildo type of vibrators and everything else, you actually have the masturbators that actually vibrate. So that can help the stimulation that way, because the man is inserting his penis into the masturbator, but it also is vibrating at the same time.
And if they do want to use a regular vibrator, all up and down the penis, the head of the penis, where it's very sensitive, they might like that different stimulation around their testicles, etc. So they just, again, it's about thinking outside the box, so to speak, when it comes to vibrators, that you can really use them all over your body to find out all different types of erogenous zone you like, the different stimulations of them.
And so when you say a masturbator, can you talk a little bit more about that? Are we talking about then sleeves for men, as far as like vagina type looking toys where men can insert their penis into? Is that what we're talking about?
Yes.
Correct.
And there are others. There's one that's called the Hydrostroker. It's the Apollo, I believe, is the brand name of it, but it's a Hydrostroker, and it doesn't look like a vagina at all. It's just a sleeve, and it's quite sturdy. They can put it in the shower. It has a tilting function, and they can use that to experience. And I think it has over 30-something functions of vibration, escalation, and pulsations. So they can even use that.
So before we move on from vibrators, there's very small ones. They're usually called like bullets, right?
Yep, they have eggs, they have mini massagers. There's even what's called G-spot stimulators for people that like that area, what I like to call the erogenous zone, the G-erogenous zone. If they like that area stimulated, it certainly is made to focus on that area. Dual stimulators, like I said, there's all the...
And the G-spot area, meaning the vaginal wall that's closest to the abdomen. Is that
right?
Probably the best way to describe that?
Yes, and there are some that are actually designed with that kind of tip where it kind of points up to that area, making it more likely to hit, targeted.
Yeah, isn't the history of the vibrator with something to do with massage? Like, wasn't there a big massage tool that came out for the back, lower back or something, and then all of a sudden people were using it for other...
They start going, wait a minute, it's really good on my back, but let's see what else. People are curious. They want to experience sensations. And to me, it's just another part of that sensual play, that vibrators just provide that other type of stimulation, making it pleasurable.
anything that people should keep aware of as far as the care and cleaning of vibrators in particular, or anything they should be careful of, especially when it comes to the insertion into the vaginal cavity?
Sure.
Or anal cavity, I guess, as well?
First of all, we want to encourage our clients to read the instructions.
You would not believe, Natasha, how often we get people that are so excited they get the toy, right? They want to jump in and they have not read the instructions, and you need to. You need to read the instructions, know what it's used for, how to clean it. It's going to provide all that information in there, how to store it, etc. So now, when it comes to what's safe for penetration, okay, it's usually, again, listed in the instructions, but you do not, especially if you're wanting it for anal intercourse or anal penetration, you do not use any vibrator or any toy that does not have a base or some kind of cord or something a handle that you hold on to. You do not do that. And the reason being is that it can actually get sucked up into the rectum, which would not make a fun ending to a pleasurable scenario, having to go to the emergency room to get it out. So you want to be careful of that. You also want to look at the material quality, look for things that say safe, body safe, etc. And like I said, the instructions are going to tell you how to clean it. We always recommend a sex toy cleaner, but you have to, certain materials, you have to know how best to clean them.
And definitely, we always say, if everybody, like she was saying, you get so excited, you want to open it up and use it, definitely say you need to wash it before you use it the first time. Because when they're in the stores, especially if you're buying from a store, people are allowed to take them out, touch them.
Feel them. Yeah.
It's like, you really want to make sure you clean it before you use it.
Yes, and make sure you use the recommended lubrication that is listed in the instructions as well. Oftentimes they'll say a water-based lubricant.
Right, because depending on the material that the toy is made out of will depend on the lubrication that's best used with it, correct?
Right, that's correct.
Okay, really good tips. Very good things to remember. All right, so do we want to move on then to Kegel exercisers?
Yes. Now, a lot of people are like, what are Kegel exercisers? And these are things that are actually used that are like little weights. There's different shapes. Sometimes they look like little eggs. Sometimes they're balls. They're just different. And sometimes they even have glass ones as well with a little bit of weight on them. But they are specifically for women who are having problems performing the Kegel exercises, which are pelvic floor exercises, or want to kind of move up with some weights, so to speak. They do their Kegels on their own without a Kegel exercises, but now they want to advance it, just like you would increasing weights when you weight lift.
These are balls or kind of egg-shaped. They almost look like pretty tampons in a way, or, well, right. Depending on this, I guess, the shape of the tampon, but there's cute little tampons that now kind of look like this. And then you insert them into the vaginal cavity, and they have usually like a string attached to it so that you can pull them out.
Now, some don't.
Okay.
Some don't, like a Benoit ball. Some don't. Some are just the balls themselves that are weighted. And so some, though, most now are having something like a string or something that is left outside the vagina. I think women feel more comfortable having something like that they can easily just pull them out when they're finished.
And so is this something that people do their Kegel exercises with? Is it something that they just leave inside for a certain amount of time and walk around with? Like, what are the best ways to use these types of?
And actually, I'd even add a third one. Sometimes some are actually made where they can be inserted. So let me just clarify the first two. Yes, you can actually insert them and actually do your Kegels. Some people actually like to insert them, especially the ones that have the weights that kind of move around on the inside, and they might put them in, hold them inside while they vacuum or exercise or clean the house. That's the second way. Or some are even made where you can actually have them inserted, and then they can actually have their partner penetrate vaginally with them also inserted. So both people are getting the pleasure.
Interesting. So tell me a little bit more about that. How does that work? I can just imagine somebody saying, isn't that going to push in too far and damage my vagina cavity?
No. If you're using the small ones, there are small Benoit balls that can be used, that can be inserted, and they're not going to go anywhere. In other words, the back of the vagina is the cervix. And unless you're going through labor and you're having contractions, that's a very small opening. So it's not going to go anywhere. You can't push them up through, in other words. So basically what you're doing is taking those small ones and then slowly allowing your partner to penetrate. And of course, if there's any pain or discomfort, you stop immediately. Yeah. But some women find that very pleasurable as well as the partner.
And can we back up? Because I always forget to just not assume that everybody knows what we're talking about. Sure. What are Kegel exercises and why are they beneficial? And why do we encourage not only women, but men to do them as well?
Just speaking, I mean, it helps in so many different areas with ability to, helps you be able to reach orgasm, helps women who are experiencing painful sex, and it just, for men and women, boosts their level of satisfaction by doing Kegel exercises. And basically what it is they're taking the pelvic floor and they're actually tightening it, how do I want to say it? Using my hands, and you can't see it obviously, but you're like contracting. I speak a lot with my hands. You're contracting that muscle, holding it for a few seconds, and then relaxing it again, and you're doing it over and over. Now, some women go, wait a minute, I don't even know what you guys are talking about. I've never experienced anything like that. How do I even locate my pelvic floor? And what we suggest you do is the first time when you go to the bathroom is you're urinating. So you're going to urinate. As you're urinating, and this is for men and women, you stop the flow of the urination. That's a contraction of the pelvic floor muscle. So that kind of, by doing that exercise, just there, they're able to go, oh, that's what I mean by contracting the pelvic floor muscle. That's a muscle that can stop the flow of urination. After that, you don't want to perform Kegels while you're urinating. That's just, you do that the first time to locate it, what I mean by contraction. But after that, once you figured out what that feels like, then you're tightening, holding it for a few seconds, and then releasing. Tightening, and you can do quick ones, quick reps, but that's basically a Kegel exercise.
And if you do this like 20 or 30 times within a few minutes, maybe once or twice a day, like that's plenty. Would that be about right?
Exactly. And then, like I said, there are some women that are wanting to up it. They're like, okay, I've done this now. I do these exercises, no problems. Now I want to look for something to help me out with it that's a little bit more weighted.
Well, and the reason you would want to increase the weights or do that is because all these exercises help with, one, you can help with urine retention, like if you're having bladder issues, but it also can increase the intensity of your orgasms. You can have better orgasms, stronger orgasms. That's for men and women.
Yay!
So that's the reason. It's not just lift some weights and
vaginal weights,
get some bigger pelvic floor muscles.
Right, which nobody can see anyway.
You're flexing.
Yeah, you're not going, I have a 6-pack of my pelvic floor.
Right. I guess the only thing I would say that I've heard at a recent conference was that if you do experience genital pain, get a second opinion, because sometimes those who have genital pain are so tight that they're actually needing to relax their pelvic floor versus exercise it, right? So that would be the only maybe population that should not be doing these exercises, but to just ask their providers about that.
Absolutely. And of course, like I said, there's different ones that they can use. There's even dildo type pelvic exercises if they don't want to use a ball or a weighted ball or the egg style. Like I said, there's different types. And you have to make sure you're doing it correctly. If there is pain, you don't continue. You stop. It's a sign that you're not doing it correctly. So you stop it right away. And you don't want to overdo it either. If they work the muscles too hard, the muscles will become tired and unable to fulfill their necessary functions. So again, too much can be a problem as well.
Somewhat along the same venue, let's move on then to vaginal dilators.
Yes. Now, these are often used when somebody is going to see a sex therapist, or they're going to see their OBGYN, or they're going to see a physical therapist that works with pelvic floor issues, etc. Most of the time, this is not something that somebody's going to pick up
at a sex toy shop.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. They may sell them there, but it's not often. So anyway, this is for people that have had maybe pelvic floor surgery that has some scarring or narrowing or shortening of the vagina, and they're having pain. So this allows somebody to start out very small. Even somebody that has, for example, muscle tension or spasms with vaginismus, or people that even have a fear of vaginal penetration. And basically what they are these graduated lengths of, starting out with a very small, kind of like the size of a pinky, small kind of dilator or dildo, it kind of looks like, and then moving all the way up to larger sizes.
Right, that would mimic more the size of a male penis.
Right.
And they're usually pink and pretty and...
Right. Some are made of silicone, some are made of glass, some even, and I can't remember the name of them, but there's a company that make them that dissolve over time. So there's just all different types out there. Some even have a vibrating option, and that's to take the clinical edge off, to make it more focus on training as well as pleasure. It can be like a dual purpose. So there's many different types. And there are people that you're working with, your therapist, your physical therapist, they're gonna not only, suggest the right type of dilator set for you, but they're also gonna, give you a set of instructions on how to use them properly and safely.
And I've done podcasts on genital pain where we talk a little bit more about this. So if anybody's dealing with that issue, definitely look into those podcasts. But yeah, this is more of a treatment, and it's really important to set the setting and the context so that this is an enjoyable experience as you're preparing yourself to, have more pleasurable experiences with your sexuality. I'd like to go into the male masturbators just a little bit more, because I think that this is one that is not as commonly known about or talked about. So why would we want to get a male masturbator? What would be some of the benefits of that?
Well, it definitely helps increase sexual desire, again, by creating that mouth newness.
Not just getting bored with a hand or certain things, or mouth, it just increases that novelty.
It provides sexual stimulation, releases hormones that positively affect overall health and well-being, and it helps you achieve and enhance your orgasms. Like I said, when you have that vibrating one or one that's giving you different type of stimulation, it can definitely increase the orgasm. It also helps with sexual activity for the disabled.
Gives them an option.
So if they don't have that manual dexterity, they can use the masturbator to help them out with it. So it's also used for the regular stimulation, which can help with erectile dysfunction. If you have erectile dysfunction, it can help or the rapid or premature ejaculation, especially. It helps with to desensitize a little bit
and help the person get used to being able to have that sensation.
Right.
So again, if they're masturbating with their hand all the time and they get very used to that, and then they go to try to attempt sex vaginally, well, that's a whole different stimulation. And oftentimes that's where the rapid ejaculation comes from. It feels so good. They're not, it's a different sensation. So helping them use something that's similar as an in-between can help bridge that.
Can you give a little bit more detail as far as how it helps with ED, with erectile dysfunction?
Well, because we know that men, oftentimes when they have ED, they're losing their ability to become erect. So we even work with a urologist who he's working on or has already created a protocol for men to use things like this on a consistent basis to help the body get used to having that erection. And so it helps, that regular stimulation helps with that down to the penis.
And I'm guessing you might get a lot of the same things that I hear from women now. Like, is he going to like the sensation of this toy better than my vagina can offer? Is it going to be tighter than my vagina? Is it, again, kind of that threatening other entity?
And we give the same advice. It's never going to replace the connection you can have with your partner. It's never going to replace the
connection.
The connection and the way that, the partner moves. this is an inanimate object that maybe has some vibrations with it, but
That's it.
that's it. It's not like, it can move differently. So
Yeah, it's not, it doesn't get rid of or take the place of that human component. It's just another option,
adding that spice to your spice rack of cooking,
so to speak. Yeah.
Yeah, and I've had several clients where they are dealing with genital pain, where this can actually feel like a really wonderful thing to be able to offer their spouses, and where the pressure is off, that I don't have to push myself through vaginal pain, which we're actually recommending women not to do, right? Do not have sex that hurts. So as they're trying to figure out their own bodies and work on that, this is something that can be used for that as well.
That's, I think that is great with all these different type of toys. It's giving more options so that as we age, sex doesn't have to stop. Or as issues come up, or physical issues, or whatever, sex can continue. And you can still go on receiving all kinds of different pleasure.
And so male masturbators, like you said, they can have different sensations. They can come in vagina type forms. They can come in forms that don't look anything like a vagina. They can include vibrations. Sometimes they have sucking or pulsation type sensations.
Right, and some are manually powered, some are battery powered. There's just all different types.
Okay.
Yep. And one of the things I was going to go back to, I forgot to mention with the premature or rapid ejaculation, it's a great training device. And so it's basically helping them increase the ability to last longer over time. And so they're great for that. Instead of, again, you're using the hand or something else, you have something that's much more similar to the sensation of vaginal penetration.
So moving on then to the penis pump.
Yes. Now, these are a low-cost treatment option for men that are suffering from erectile dysfunction, especially when we know drugs like Viagra, Levitra, Cialis may be ineffective or counterindicated, especially if they can't take the medication due to heart disease or other issues.
Okay.
So basically what it's doing, a lot of people look at these things and they're like, what? I don't get it. What they're doing is the man is actually inserting his penis into that large cylinder, and by pumping, it's actually allowing the blood flow into the penis, helping to create that erection.
So not dangerous, right? I mean,
well, no, it can be dangerous.
Okay.
It can, and we're very much against the ones out there that talk about enlarging your penis, and no. There's no research that shows that you're going to be able to increase the length of your penis permanently by using these penis pumps. And so what can happen is people will keep pumping and pumping and pumping to the point where they can actually cause pain by doing it. So yes, these you can.
Got to be careful. 1, 2, if there is ever pain, there's always a release valve on all of these. And exactly where that is.
Yes, before you get started, before you
started, and you also want to be consulting your doctor.
Yes,
when doing this, because they have
if men have any injuries or surgeries involving their penis, testicles, or prostate, or if they have sickle cell anemia or other blood disorders, or if they take blood thinning medication, they really need to talk to their doctor again before doing this. So we're always suggesting they rule out all of those things before they start pumping.
Well, can we just go on record and say that really there is no product out there that will enlarge your penis?
Right, and there is none. There will be all kinds of advertising. They love using it. Cal Exotics even did that. They have products that'll say that no. Now, if there is any enlargement, it's temporary. So once, in other words, you stop pumping and the blood flow then goes back into the body out of the penis, there's not going to be permanently.
Well, an erection is natural enlargement of the penis.
Right,
I think
what
a lot of these products are...
They're like, oh, there's permanent if I do this. Yeah.
Yeah, that somehow they're going to make your penis bigger and thicker and longer forever. And there's no product like that. And I think it's one of the ways that men get.
A lot of people don't understand that the penis is not a muscle. It's just 2 cavities that fill up with blood. So you can't increase the muscle size, so it can't get longer, bigger,
that kind of thing. Yeah.
Right.
Now let me just go over some safety with this, because we are big on educating people, because there have been cases where people have ended up really hurting themselves by overpumping. So what you have to do is start slowly. Once you've been okayed by your doctor to use these, there's no other things getting in the way. You start slowly when pumping, only applying the minimum amount of vacuum pressure needed to get an erection, nothing more. Because over pumping or over enthusiastic pumping can cause blood vessels to burst and blisters to form. Okay, and obviously if there's pain while pumping, you stop immediately. We also say do not use a penis pump while under the influence of alcohol or drugs. That's not good because you're more likely to over enthusiastically pump, etc. Refrain from using pumps on a daily basis, and misuse or overuse can aggravate existing medical problems. So you have to be careful with that, and it can cause penile bruising and serious permanent injury to the penis and damage the penile tissue. So you have to be very careful with these. Just pump enough slowly just to get the erection, period.
And so is this, because I'm trying to, again, put it in the context of the bedroom, right? So do men pump like, hold on just a minute, honey, we're ready to have intercourse, and so I'm going to come over here and pump for a few seconds, and then here we go? Or is it something that's done more privately in the bathroom and then come back out? Or like...
It's up to the couple. They can actually, if they feel uncomfortable, we kind of suggest that it become part of the
foreplay, so to speak.
Yeah, because some men actually experience pleasure from this. So why not just add it in, just like you would? You don't stop and say, "Oh wait, let me turn myself on with a vibrator and then I'll come back." It can actually be something the couple can use together. She can help, or him can help pump, and then once he gets the erection, they can then go to intercourse.
Right, which is such a reframe, right? Yes. This is what sex therapy is all about, right? Is helping people take things that don't normally, or that we wouldn't normally sexualize, and help us sexualize them.
Right, because again, it gets past the barrier. It gets past this idea that it's embarrassing or something to be ashamed of. No, it can be part of the foreplay. Why not?
Yeah. And does this help then keep an erection for a certain amount of time? Is there a typical amount of time, or everybody's different? Or
different, and oftentimes they come with the next thing that we were going to talk about, which is a penis ring. Sometimes they go hand in hand. The layman term is a cock ring. Oftentimes they come with them. Sometimes you have to buy it separately. But once an erection is then achieved, then they can put on one of these rings around the penis, and it actually then allows the blood to remain in the penis during intercourse.
Okay.
So basically the pump is just allowing that blood flow in so the person can achieve it. Maintaining it, if they can't do it on their own, would be the benefit of the penis ring.
Great. Anything else then about the penis pumps that we want to cover?
I think that's about it. Just make sure they read the instructions, follow the instructions by their doctor, sex therapist, or whatever, and don't over pump.
Okay.
Yes.
Great. So let's move to the penis rings then. You obviously just kind of basically gave the overview. This is what they do, is they restrict blood flow out of the penis.
Right.
Therefore helping keep an erection.
Right.
What else? What else can they be helpful for?
Rapid ejaculation, so it allows them to maybe last a little bit longer.
Okay.
Although that's not as effective as, again, restricting the blood flow, helping them maintain an erection, but it can help a little bit. And there's all different types. There are some that are actually, they have vibrations added to them. So again, it can be pleasurable vibrations and sensations for both the person wearing it and the partner receiving it.
Right. A little bullet can be placed into the penis ring, and it can be positioned so that it hits the woman on the clitoris, and it also is vibrating the penis at the same time.
And where would you say that the penis ring usually is placed along the shaft of the penis?
There's different ways that it can go. Some are just around the base of the penis, and some are actually made to go around the man's penis and testicles to do it. So again, that's why we always say consult with a sex therapist or talk to the doctor, because there's different ways. And again, if you're using the wrong type, you can hurt yourself.
You don't have to be dealing with some type of dysfunction to find these pleasurable. A lot of people just like to use these, again, just for novelty and a different sensation. Is that correct?
Right. Yeah, the vibrating ones especially, because oftentimes the ones that are more made for pleasure for both, partners typically aren't great at restricting the blood flow or helping the person maintain an erection. They're really not designed for that. They're not as effective as the ones that are just made for that purpose only. So they have ones that are solid metal rings with different shapes and sizes, and so you really have to know and have, if you're using something like that, have something available to remove it quickly in case you got a too small of one and then got an erection. That can be painful. There are silicone rings, there are slide adjustment rings, Velcro and snap ones. We like the snap ones. They're usually leather and they usually have 3 to 5 snaps on them. And the reason why we like them is they're easy on, easy off. May I just talk about some safety tips regarding the penis rings?
Oh yes, please.
Yeah, only because people think, wow, I've got this erection. I can, wear this thing for hours. No. Do not use these things longer than 30 minutes at a time. And do not use them if you have an inflamed, injured penis. So if you just pumped and you have blisters or you've got bruises or whatever, do not use the penis ring then. And then you want to take it off at the first sign of pain and discomfort. Again, listen to your body. That's why I'm really against any kind of, we both are, numbing creams that are on the market. Pain is a signal that you need to stop what you're doing. That it's not being used right or whatever. Do not fall asleep with these on, and do not use them under the influence of alcohol or drugs, because again, you're more likely to keep them on longer than 30 minutes, or you're more likely to fall asleep or whatever. You don't want that.
Can you talk really briefly about why numbing creams are usually used?
Oftentimes, I guess people will use them to try to, get around the pain. So if a woman is having pain, I'll just use some of this numbing cream, or they may use it to try to last longer, or, if they're having painful anal intercourse. So there's many different reasons why somebody might. We're not big fans of them. Because again, I think pain is a very important signal.
It's a signal to your body that something's not right.
Right.
Yeah, the only time I had heard about it possibly being helpful was exactly like the premature ejaculation.
Right.
But even then, you're saying it's not something you prefer.
Yeah, then because there's other ways that they can learn how to last longer without having to use those.
Yeah, that are more organic and that actually will last as far as helping them learn versus just using an outside product. Right.
Exactly.
Anything you want to say about lubrication briefly? I know we did a podcast on that goes into it more in depth, but I'd like to get maybe your takes on good lubes and what to look for and
I love lubricants.
Why they're important.
I am all about it. I think everybody should have a big vat of it right by the bed, big Sam's Club vat, especially since I'm getting older. But anyway, it definitely helps with vaginal dryness and prevents painful intercourse, because we know as we get older, or if you're taking antihistamines or anything, drugs that you're taking or whatever, medications, it can affect your own ability to lubricate. And we're not always lubricating the same amount consistently all the time. So having that lubricant is beneficial, helps with penetration and thrusting, heightens genital sensitivity, and makes it more likely you have an orgasm, makes masturbation more pleasurable. I mean, there's just so many things. There's even flavored ones that can make oral sex more fun, although be careful. There's just a lot out there that it's been a long time since we found any that have been really good flavored.
So with the flavored ones, you got to be careful because the sugars in them for some women bad infections that can ruin the fun altogether.
Yes. Absolutely. And a lot of people don't know this, but it can actually, a small drop can be used inside condoms to prevent breakage and to provide extra sensation for him if he's using a condom. So there's many different ones, and we like to look for ones that have pH balance, that are made of good quality. That's what we kind of look for.
So, Chuck, you're saying that the sugared ones can cause vaginal infections.
Yes.
Okay. Yep.
Know the different types and be very careful with using condoms, because we know that some types of lubrication don't go well with condoms. You have to be careful of potential allergies, sensitivities, and making sure, again, that the type, if you're using sex toys, that you're using lubrication that is okay to use with that sex toy.
The last thing I think I want to talk to you about is, how do people find good sex toys, right? I mean, you get on the websites and a lot of times there's a lot of crass type of imagery that people are not comfortable with, or maybe they're not comfortable going to the local sex toy shop because, again, there's a lot of things that they're not wanting to see, or, just maybe the stigma of walking into a store like that.
Yes.
So how do people go about finding these things that can help?
The first thing I always say is do your research first. In other words, find out what you're wanting the sex toy to do, because some people, that's part of the issue, is they're walking into some of these places or looking online, and like we said before, there's a vast number of them that do all kinds of things. So you have to sit down and go, wait a minute, what kind of stimulation am I looking for? What's the erogenous zone? They have nipple clamps and vibrating things for people that want stimulation on their nipples. So you have to know, what am I looking for? What kind of sensation? What's the erogenous zone? And then start doing your research. What I always suggest is go with reputable companies. There's one I really love is adameve.com. bettersex.com is another one. I love those stores because you don't have to go into somewhere.
They have very discreet
Shipping.
So when it's sent to you, it's not like going, hello, you just bought a sex toy.
Yes, with alarms, letting your neighbors know, etc. Yeah. So those are typically the places we start first, is we suggest they go to online places that are reputable, like that.
There's so many brands out there. I'm sure it's difficult to recommend certain brands, but is there anything that you would necessarily recommend? And the company that you were vendors for, that would be one that you'd probably recommend still. Yeah. Is that correct?
That's correct. Cal Exotic has many, many. And if you go to calexotics.com, that is their manufacturing website. So you're not going to be able to buy from there. That's a great place to research, actually. They have thousands and thousands of different types of toys. BDSM toys, vibrators, toys for men. They have different categories that help. So you go there, you see all the different types of toys, and then you can go to a place, get the name of the toy. Then you can go to Amazon. Amazon, we found, when we've done research on prices, Amazon has really much cheaper prices we've seen on some other stores. So you have to shop around. But you get the name from Cal Exotics, go to Amazon and start comparing prices, or Adam and Eve, like we said, or bettersex.com. But that's a great place to start.
And one of the things, too, when talking about price, just because a toy is expensive does not mean it's a good toy.
Right.
You can spend up to hundreds of dollars on a sex toy, and it may not be right for you. It may not be good quality. It may not. You just got to look at all those things before you go to buy stuff.
And we are biased, even though we don't work for them anymore. We do like Cal Exotics products because oftentimes they just use quality materials. And they have a logo on their products that say safe and pure. So you're getting body safe material, safe for the body, no phthalates. It's just good material. So if you don't use Cal Exotics, look for where it says something like that on the label.
You mentioned BDSM, so just again for my audience, it's bondage and dominance and submissive and
right.
Yeah.
And those are things like floggers, paddles, nipple clamps, restraints, blindfolds, all that stuff.
Right. People who like more of that dominant submissive type roles, which is a lot about play and kink and things of that nature.
Sensual play. Sometimes it's not even about BDSM at all. Sometimes people will buy these just to use in sensual play type activities.
Right.
Different sensations.
So do your homework. It is a little sad when you spend some money and don't like what you got. Most of these things are probably not, returnable because once.
I'm not going to call out the store, but it can be found in malls. That's all I'll say. And I can't confirm or deny this story, but I have heard that certain store did take back returns. So be very careful. My understanding, that wasn't legal. I'm not sure. I'm not a lawyer, but you shouldn't be taking back sex toys, used sex toys.
Yeah, unless they have some type of policy where they're not reselling them.
Exactly.
They're just happy to take them back because you weren't happy with them or something like that. But
most stores, that's not
right. So, but even then, just chalk it up to, well, in the course of trying to better my sex life, 1 or 2 bad sex toys is not the worst case scenario. If I can find 2 or 3 that really make a huge difference in my life. So
Right.
that's probably a good reframe for that.
Now, there is a benefit for going in, getting past the embarrassment, etc., going into an adult store locally. And there are many that are more female friendly, so you just have to find them in your area. But by going in there, you can actually, many of them will let you, take the toy out of the package, feel it, smell it. Yes, smell it because of chemical smells. They have batteries. You can put it in and feel it on your hand to see if that's the kind of sensation you're wanting or if you need something that's more. It also allows you to see, does it have sharp edges or is it smooth and seamless? You want to make sure your toys are smooth and seamless, that there's nothing that can hurt you as well. So that's one of the benefits of actually going into a store before you buy.
And there's some home parties now, right?
Yes,
like
absolutely.
people, like companies that are coming around, and I've heard some positive things about those as well.
Yes.
So I guess I will just close with any closing thoughts that either one of you would want to leave us with. You've given us such really great information here today.
Nope, just remember, sex is adult play, so the whole point of all this is have fun. And stay safe when using these things. And read your instructions that come with it before you use.
Chuck, any closing thoughts from you?
Like I said, like she said, actually have fun. This is the best thing you can do with your partner is have fun.
Yep, explore.
Yeah, I thank you so much for your time. I so appreciate this. This is going to be so helpful, really.
Well, we appreciate you having us on.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
We took the long road home, turned minutes into miles. And as the evening traveled on, the sunset bathed your smile. We stopped beneath the desert stars, wrapped in each other's arms. Was as simple as I love you, an ordinary, extraordinary truth.
It's been a long road here, a trail with tears, pain and sorrow too.
But through every storm we traveled on, like lovers do. And if sometimes we fell apart, we always came back home. Was as simple as I love you, an ordinary, extraordinary truth. Some people say love is blind and forever is too long. But I see your eyes in every sunrise. Can't imagine life alone. Let's take the long road on together until we're gone. want you by my side till the day I die and into the beyond. It's as simple as our love is. That's how I wanna go. All wrapped up in the arms of our extraordinary. It's nothing ordinary love. Ordinary. No, it's extraordinary.